So last week I made a video making Snapdragon in Garden Warfare 2, and now it's time to go back to the zombies and create a new zombie class from BFN. The winner of the poll that I put out was Space Cadet, so today we're going to be recreating Space Cadet in Garden Warfare 2. Normally at the start of these videos I show the process of making the model in Blender, but I decided for this one I'm not going to do that since I needed to focus on how I'd rig the character. You see, in Garden Warfare 2 I'm not able to import animations, so I had to come up with a character that I could put Space Cadet over. Now for the other characters it was quite easy to figure out what to rig the character to, but for Space Cadet it was quite difficult since obviously she's in a spacecraft unlike any character that's in Garden Warfare. The original plan was to rig her to Scientist, and I'll show you what that looked like here. You can see the model somewhat works, but the issue is when she starts moving around it just looks like Scientist walking with a spacecraft following him. I decided to redesign Space Cadet a bit just to look like a Garden Warfare 2 zombie instead, so I gave her the brown coat head and added the eyelashes that she has from BFN. Now instead of continuing with making it over Scientist, I decided to look at some other options that I had. There was multiple ideas that I had. One was Future Imp, the little bug bot thing that you can find in Ops, and the other one was Hovergurt. Since Hovergurt's got the most animations and already kind of supports the whole hovercraft thing, I went with him. So I opened up Hovergurt's model and I had a look at the different burns that he has on it, and I found the different burns I could rig the model to, and this is how it looked. So the original idea was to rig the head to a different burn and then the body and the spacecraft to another one so I could make it so the head moved. But later on I decided to rig all of the body to one burn and then a head to a different one, so it still gave the head moving motion, but it also made it so the body looked a bit more alive too. After making some changes to the model, this is how it looked in game. You can see it's already starting to come together now, with the character actually looking a bit more alive while on the spacecraft. Now I need to add some textures. So first I decided to get the hat from BFN and give it to Space Cadet in Garden Warfare 2. Then I added the textures and also took the eyes that I used for Snapdragon and Acorn and gave it to Space Cadet so her eyes can move. You can see the model's already starting to come together quite well, but obviously we're still missing parts of the model like the little weapon that she has and also the glass on it too. You can see how the model moves around. It's already starting to look quite nice, and it's starting to also look like it's alive and not just a static model. So I got the rest of the parts of Space Cadet's model and I put them in game, and this is how it looked. I went back and I gave the little robot UV scrolling on his eye as well, so he looks like he's looking around like Space Cadet is. Now for the next challenge in making this character, which was the sound effects for her. You see, normally it's quite easy to do this, it's just a copy-paste job for most of the sound effects, but with Space Cadet it's a bit different since I'm working with Hovergurt's sounds. You see, how Garden Warfare 2 makes all the different hoverboard sounds for the Gurt is using multiple different sound effects, and I mean about a solid 5 of them it uses, so it's going to be quite a pain to go through and find which ones are which. Now I'm going to be honest, this took about nearly an hour to sort out, but this is the final result that I got. Now with the sound effects finished, it was time to work on the primary weapon, which I thought was going to be quite easy, but just like the sounds, I ran into a lot of different problems. So I started off by building it off Hovergurt's weapon, and I gave it some custom effects as well, just to get the idea that it's Space Cadet's weapon. This is how it came out. You can see it's already got similar effects to what Space Cadet has in BFN, but it doesn't have homing just yet. So once I added homing to the weapon, it made the projectile a lot more janky to use, and honestly it started becoming quite a pain to use it, so I went back and I changed it up a bit and I started building the projectile off a different weapon. So in this footage you can see here it's using a new projectile that's built off the Vampire Flower. Vampire Flower uses a missile projectile that allows her to apply little healing effects to your character when she shoots something. Missiles are the only projectiles in the game that support homing, so I have to build the weapon off this one. And once I got it all finished, it started to make the projectile honestly really nice to fire. Now I wanted to make the effects for the projectile look a bit better. The original plan was to take stuff from the Gatling bot and hide and shoot bots, but the problem was there wasn't working properly for some reason. So I went back and I decided to build it off the placeholder effect that I was using earlier on in the video. With the effects of the weapon all finished, it's time to work on the sound effects for it. So when it comes to exporting the sounds from BFN, it can be quite difficult to get the accurate sound effects for weapons because of how many different sounds they use. So instead I decided just to record it in game and then use it that way. So I added a reload sound and fixed the ammo count of the weapon, and now that's all finished. So So now I think I need to clarify what I'm going to do for the middle ability, because you'd assume that it's going to be the space station. But you see, I decided that I'm not going to. Instead, it's going to be the crater maker. This is because I can't do team-ups in Garden Warfare 2, which is basically the entire gimmick of the space station. And it's also because at some point I plan on doing variants in the mod, and the way the space station looks would make it kind of awkward to make different space station models for every single potential Space Cadet variant. With all that summed up, it's time to work on the crater maker. So the idea was to build this off the Huskop and make it so it drops the projectiles down. But the problem is Huskop uses an animation to fire the projectiles, so I had to just make it so the Space Cadet just drops the projectiles on the ground. And as you can see here, it works all really well and nothing's going to go wrong later on. I also made the projectiles red, and I made it make the sounds from BFN, and it just completely destroys this Sunflower Queen. So now it was time to work on the Gravity Smash ability. First of all, I stole the buffs from a weapon from Project Visionary for Robo Zombie to get it to work. So I got the buffs in the game and put it on the weapon, and I got somewhat of a functional version of the Gravity Smash. So with that working, I added the sound effects from BFN while she's like travelling around. So with that done, I wanted to work on a little purple circle that appears underneath Space Cadet while she does the ability. I reused some of the effects from Crater Maker to make this possible, and you can see here how it looks. So it took a while to sort out the effects to get it looking just right, but I got it working and decided to take out my anger on a weed. So with that finished, I made some more adjustments to the sounds, and now all of the stuff for Gravity Smash is complete. Which leaves me with one more ability, the Big Bang Beam. My original idea was to build this off the Super Ultra Ball, and that would be how I'd get it to work. I was already starting to work on it, I got some stuff for it done, until I realised this. As you can see, it's basically the exact same weapon as the one from BFN. And since it's from one of the worst mystery portals of all time that no longer comes out, it means it's technically unused, so I'm going to use this to build the Big Bang Beam. So I started working on the effects and murdered some more weeds, and as you can see, it's starting to all come together. I made the effects red instead of blue, and then I went on and added the sound effects as well. So I did a bit of polish, and now it's time to give all these abilities icons. You can see here how the Space Cadet looks in game with its icons and all the metadata done. It's all starting to come together. The only thing I have to do now is give it a spotting icon. So I went through, I designed a spotting icon for it, put it in the game, and now it's all complete, which means I can show you all the gameplay. As you can see here, I ran into an issue with the Crater Maker. It turns out, for some reason, it's not damaging specifically players whenever I use it. I mean, it kind of does damage, but the minute the character's on 1 health, it sticks at 1 health, and for some reason the UI starts going really quick. After you shoot the character after doing Crater Maker, for some reason it puts it back to the health it was at before I started attacking, which means it's technically doing no damage. I spend literal hours trying to figure out why this is happening and how to fix it, because it makes no sense how I can attack AI but I can't attack players. It's such a strange bug. So I tried multiple different things to fix this. To begin with, I tried making it like Park Ranger, where it applies a buff on the ground, anyone stood near it takes damage. Then I tried to make it like Toxic P, where whenever you get hit by splash damage it applies a buff to you. But no matter how much I did, no matter how many different options I tried, it would always only apply to AI and not players. I only had one more idea on how to fix this, and that was swapping the projectile from a regular one to a grenade. The idea was to make it once again use a gravity of -50 similar to the projectile I was already using, but since it's a grenade it might actually work, and I tried it in game and this was the result. So there's no game audio here, so just imagine Citron is crying in pain while Space Cadet makes Space Cadet sounds. But you can see here I finally fixed the bug that I was running into, which means now the mod is kind of complete. Everything is now done and functional. So with everything now finished, let's go on to the gameplay. So thanks for watching this video. If you did enjoy, feel free to leave a like, maybe subscribe if you want to. The next video will be on Nightcap, so there won't be another poll. But yeah, hope you enjoyed, and see you all in the next one.